Hello, this is Professor White. Today we will talk about quadratic equations, primarily using the quadratic formula. Make sure you watch the first video before you do this to make some sense out of this whole thing. Alright, I'll give you the quadratic formula. A quadratic formula is a formula that is used to solve quadratic equations of this form. Needs to be memorized unless you want to derive it on the spot, and I'll show you how to do that. Here it is, negative b plus minus rad b squared minus 4ac over 2a. That needs to be memorized. Well, let's see how we derive it to start with. We start with the quadratic equation. Remember the complete and square method? I'm going to follow those steps. Move the constant term to the right. Ax squared plus bx, move the c to the right. Divide everything by the leading coefficient. Divide everything by a. Alright, so far so good. Let's move. Now complete the square on the left-hand side of the equation. So how did we do that? You take this term, divide by 2. That will give you b over 2a. And then square it. b squared. This is 4a squared. Add that to both sides. You used to have x squared plus b over ax, add b squared over 4a squared, and you had negative c over a, add b squared over 4a squared. Now, this became the perfect square of x plus b over 2a. Now I need to put it in the same denominator. What am I missing? I'm missing 4a. Rewrite negative c 4a plus b squared over 4a squared. Let's make this pretty. Put this first, b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. What do I do next? You take square root of both sides. What do you end up with? Absolute value of x plus b over 2a. On the other side, take this out. You're going to have b squared minus 4ac over, this comes out as 2a. Alright, now let's take out the absolute value. You're going to end up with plus minus x plus b over 2a. You have b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Move the plus minus on the other side. Then move b over 2a on the other side. Make it pretty. Ta-da, here's your quadratic formula. All right. And we did the solve portion. All right. Now that we have our quadratic formula, how do we use it? I'll give you the steps, and if you follow the steps, you'll be in good shape. The question is solve. The first thing, using the quadratic formula, write the ABCs down. A is this guy. B is this guy. C is this guy. Next thing, write what's in this radical. That's called a discriminant. B squared minus 4AC. B squared is 2 squared minus 4. A is 1, C is 1. This one is 4 minus 4, that's 0. Okay, now let's plug it in. X equals, negative B is negative 2, plus or minus rad 0 over 2A. Rad 0 is 0, so this plus minus portion goes away, negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. And actually, I do know with factoring, this is the factored form is x plus 1 squared. That means x equals negative 1. So this is consistent with that. Just happens to be an easy example. All right, how do I do this one? The question is solve. Write down your ABCs. Write down your discriminant. B squared is 16 minus 4. A is 2. C is negative 5. 16 minus minus plus. 2 times 5, that's 10 times 4, 40. 56. All right. Now what do you have? X equals negative B, which is negative 4, plus or minus rad 56 over 2A. What is 7 times 7 is 49. 8 times 8 is 64. 7 times 8 is 56. So let's go and write that. 7 times 8. 7 times 8 is 2 and 4. All right? Over 4. What's that? Negative 4 plus or minus. 4 comes out, and you have 14. If you clean this up, you're going to end up with negative 1 plus or minus 2 is 1/2. You can do it that way. All right? Okay, well, I used the quadratic formula. Let's go and do another one. The question is solved. A is 3, B is negative 4, C is 5. Write down the discriminant. B squared is 16 minus 4, A is 3, C is 5. Okay? This one gives you 16 minus 3 times 4 is 12 times 5, that's 60. That one is 60, 50, 44, right? 44, 56, yes, negative 44. So what do I have? X equals negative B, which is 4, plus minus rad 44 over 2A, which is 6. But this one is a negative. All right, so that means I'm going to get an I in there. So 4 plus or minus I. 44 is 4 times 11. 2 comes out. And I over 6. And let's get rid of some of these guys. This will give me 2/3 plus or minus 2 over 6, that's 1/3. Rad 11 I. Now what did I end up? A complex pair. So let's summarize all this. When do I get what? It looks like everything depends on what is happening with B squared minus 4AC. I did all 3 cases. When the b squared minus 4ac was negative, I ended up with a complex pair. No real answer. Okay? When b squared minus 4ac was 0, remember that discriminant part that dropped off of the equation, you ended up with one real answer. When b squared minus 4ac was positive, I ended up with two real answers. Now, you have two different real answers. It was a nice answer when you didn't have irrationals. You either had two rational reals when the discriminant is perfect square. When the discriminant was ugly, like 7, 11, those kind of things, you ended up with irrational real answers. And that means the discriminant is not a perfect square. So this pretty much summarizes it. You either get a complex pair, one real answer, two real answers, and among the two real answers you either have two rational or two irrational answers.